Firstly, Aaron, thank you for you and for your and for the DEW Journal India for showing an interest in this study and for allowing me to talk about APT's work. APT is a worldwide geochemical service company that mostly does high-end geochemical projects for our industrial clients. We do some multi-client regional studies as well, mostly in the North Atlantic and North Sea region. And this is where APT has gained considerable expertise and experience over the years. And this is our kind of core area. For this type of study, we usually pick an area that we think will be of interest to the oil industry, perhaps because of recent discoveries that have been made there, or that there is an impending land sale. Sometimes these are just one basin, but there can be many basins. An example of that is in 2017, where we completed a geochemical study that included almost all the basins around the North Atlantic. For these type of studies, we select and obtain drilling samples from an appropriate agency or collect field samples ourselves, and then perform the geochemical analyses at the APT laboratories in Oslo, Norway. I have personally been interested in this area for more than 30 years, long before I joined APT. What renewed my and APT's interest in this area was some results we obtained in the North Atlantic study that I mentioned APT completed in 2017. We found oil stainings in samples from a couple of old wells that geochemical evidence suggested belonged to a very different petroleum system to that documented elsewhere in offshore Atlantic Canada. As there was a planned land sale forthcoming, we decided to ask the oil companies if there was any interest in us going ahead with this study. After getting some positive feedback, we decided to go ahead. My colleagues at APT in the UK and I then looked at available older information such as well logs and end of well reports, and these were used to select possible intervals to sample for potential source rocks and staining intervals. I then went to St. John's, Newfoundland, to do the sampling at the Canada, Newfoundland, Labrador Offshore Petroleum Board, CNLOPB core storage facility. And although some of the wells were almost 50 years old, I think I was the first person to examine these wells based on the state of the boxes and the samples, which is indicative of the lack of interest in this area historically. The samples were then sent to the APT lab for an analysis. We screened and characterized the sediment samples for staining and for source rock quality, investigated thermal maturity of the samples by vitrinite reflectance and spore coloration, as well as obtaining apatite thermochronology data. The main findings of our analysis is that we believe we have evidence of oil staining in Lower Jurassic samples in a number of wells that exhibit consistent geochemical signatures that suggest a common source rock. We have also found lower maturity, Lower Jurassic source rock intervals that have similar geochemical characteristics to the oil stains, suggesting that more mature equivalents could be the source of the oil staining. The stains and the source rocks show similarities to time-equivalent Western European analogues, including those from commercial deposits in Germany, the Netherlands, and the United Kingdom. I think the study will change their view because the area was previously not thought to be prospective because of the lack of Upper Jurassic source rocks. This study indicates that the absence of these rocks need not be an impediment to exploration in this area. It confirms the presence of an older Lower Jurassic petroleum system that may have generated economic quantities of oil, as of similar age rocks in Western Europe have done on the other side of the North Atlantic. This study is of course available to oil companies that are interested in our findings. Aran, once again, I thank you for your interest in APT's work.